When night fell over Topkapi Palace, the heart of the Ottoman Empire began to beat to a different rhythm. The grand marble corridors, once bustling with statesmen and servants, fell silent. Only the flicker of oil lamps danced on the walls, casting long, trembling shadows. From the Bosphorus Strait, the soft pulse of the waves carried the scent of salt and jasmine into the palace courtyards. The call to prayer had faded hours ago. But behind a veil of silk and secrecy in the deepest sanctum of the harem, one chamber remained awake. A single light still burned. Hurrem Sultan, the most powerful woman in the empire, did not sleep. She knew that power, once earned, demanded constant vigilance. In the treacherous world of the palace, sleep could be fatal, and silence could whisper rebellion. Every night unfolded with the same quiet ritual. As the final attendants withdrew and the eunuchs sealed the outer corridors, the scent of amber would fill Hurrem's private chamber. She would dismiss her handmaids with a single gracious nod. Only one or two remained, tending to the rituals of the evening. First, she would remove the ornaments that defined her station: the rubies from her hair, the emerald necklace gifted by her husband, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, the golden bracelets engraved with verses of love and power. To the world, they were priceless treasures. To her, they were armor, beautiful, heavy, and utterly exhausting. As they were laid upon a velvet tray, Hurrem would release a breath she felt she'd been holding all day, as if shedding not jewels, but burdens. For just a moment, in the mirror's reflection, she might see the ghost of the girl she once was. Alexandra, a slave captured from Ruthenia, thrust into a world she never chose. But that ghost would linger for only a heartbeat before Hurrem straightened her shoulders, becoming once more the queen she had forged with her own iron will. After the chamber quieted, her true work began. On her writing table, carved from ebony and inlaid with mother of pearl, lay scrolls, letters, and petitions. By candlelight, she would pore over reports from her network of spies and allies. Which vizier whispered against her? Which concubine sought the Sultan's favor? Which faction in the imperial council turned its gaze toward her sons? Information was life. And Hurrem, despite being a queen, lived as a master strategist in a court that could turn on her at any moment. Sometimes she would summon a trusted eunuch to bring fresh ink and parchment. Her handwriting was elegant, deliberate, the letters curling like tendrils of smoke. To Suleiman she wrote of poetry and love, but woven between those lines were messages of counsel and persuasion. She understood the Sultan's moods better than anyone. Her words guided his thoughts, her charm softened his resolve, and her intellect fortified his decisions. The palace believed Hurrem ruled through her beauty. But the truth was quieter, and far sharper. She ruled through knowledge, gathered in the stillness of the night. After sealing her letters with a wax imprint of a tulip and a crescent, she would send them with the eunuch to the Sultan's chambers. In the moments of solitude that followed, she prayed. The prayer rugs in her room were embroidered with verses she had chosen herself. She prayed for her children, for Mehmed, for Selim, for Bayezid. She knew that the same empire that crowned their father could one day turn and destroy them. The whispers of the harem were a constant hum in the background of her life. Rival concubines plotted in the baths, courtiers schemed in the shadows, and the winds of jealousy moved as quietly as the night air. Hurrem knew. She always knew. And that knowledge was both her shield and her poison. Sleep, when it came, arrived in fragments. She would rest on her divan beneath a canopy of silk, the sound of a marble fountain trickling in the corner, a rhythm meant to soothe the mind. But her mind rarely rested. When nightmares came, as they often did, she would rise and light another candle, its flame a steadying presence. Outside, the city was a sea of dim lights. Fishermen's torches drifted on the water, and in the distance the minarets stood like sentinels against the night sky. In these quiet hours, Hurrem felt both the vastness of her power and the crushing loneliness of her throne. For every victory, 1,000 enemies had risen. For every whisper of love from the Sultan, another voice in the court questioned her right to stand beside him, but she never broke. Night was her refuge, her time to gather strength for the battles of the day. Occasionally, Suleiman himself would visit her, unannounced. The guards would step aside, the eunuchs bowing low as the Sultan crossed into her world. Their conversations were long, private, and soft-spoken. They spoke of state affairs, of poetry, of dreams. Hurrem listened, advised, and with the subtlety of a seasoned diplomat, guided the most powerful man in the world. When he left, she would stand in the doorway long after he was gone, whispering a prayer for his safety and for her own. In the hours before dawn, as the palace began to stir again, she would pour a cup of pomegranate sherbet and sit by the lattice window. These were her truest moments, the queen without an audience, the woman without her armor. She would think of her youth, of the long, impossible path that had brought her from a captive to a queen. Hurrem Sultan, they called her, the joyous one. Yet joy had long since been replaced by something harder, more resilient: endurance. And that endurance had become the foundation of an empire's golden age. As the first call to prayer echoed across the city, Hurrem would rise. The candles burned low, their work done. She turned to her attendants, her voice calm, commanding, and ready for the day. The veil of night lifted, and she became once more the public face of imperial grace. But those closest to her knew the truth. The real Hurrem lived in those unseen hours, when the empire slept, and she alone shouldered its secrets. Chroniclers would write of her beauty and her cunning, but it was in the darkness that she forged her alliances, and in the silence that she secured her legacy. The sun showed the world the empire's glory, but only the night knew its heartbeat in the quiet chamber of a queen who never truly slept. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the secret life of Hurrem Sultan, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.